Hello.
Hi.
We had fun doing this garden, and we kind of applied some of the permaculture stuff we learned, which wasn't a whole lot, but it was enough to do it according to the contour of the land and try to retain the water. And we're also pulling the excess water out of our spring and not letting that just go down the ravine and be lost to the other trees and plants, but we're pulling it over here and actually using it in the garden. And we've tried to saturate the field and to get as much water in this area as possible, because this was pretty dry in the beginning, but now it seems like we've kind of filled it up with water, and we kind of see the results of permaculture, and we're happy, and we're going to pursue that whole idea of learning more about it so that we can actually maximize this piece of land right here in all respects.
Beautiful.
When David and I first got married a few years ago and crossed over from the East Coast, where I'm from, out to here in Idaho, our favorite song was singing Green Acres. David is the brainiac in this family. He picked Kim and Julie Pagliaro's brain, read their book, and then we ordered our own copy. And after doing all of his brainiacking and thinking about how to get the water to do the conservation, I became his work mule. And I did all the work out here.
Honey, you give me too much credit.
That's right, right. He did the brainiacking, I did the muscle work. But the reward after you put the effort into putting it in, that's the beauty of your permaculture, is that once you've gotten it started, it works. It does the work, and you don't have to until it's harvest time.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Is the recliner over there the sort of the therapy side of it?
Oh, absolutely. See, I'm almost 90% deaf, so the joke for the two of us is that while David goes into the computer to do more thinking, Carol comes up here at nighttime and she jokingly listens to the corn grow. I mean, I couldn't hear anything up here, even with the hearing aids in, but that's what I do. I come up here and I look after toiling all day, and I just wait for all the muscles to stop aching and screaming. And I look up at the stars, and I look at how thankful we are that we're here in Idaho, in such a beautiful place, and to be able to put this stuff to work, to make the soil and everything else come together. That's what sitting up here at nighttime is about. You're probably the expert on the corn, but we just read an article about how the corn itself is like a computer. Literally, when you take that little kernel and you put it into the ground, that kernel does its germination, but from the minute that it gets 12 to 17 leaves on it, at that point, that stalk of corn says, wait a second, let's go down and do a soil analysis. Let's see how many nutrients there are here, so that we, as a stalk, can determine how many ears of corn are we going to put up, and how many kernels are we going to put in each cob, and how many kernels and therefore how many silks are we going to need. So once it's determined that, and it says, well, I think this row could only take like a 2-inch circumference, only a skinny little corn. But if we put better soil in, it'll say, let's do a 4-inch ear of corn. Then it calculates and says, this will hold 98 kernels. So we're going to need 98 silks. So the silks start to come up, and they do their pollination, and each silk is dedicated to a specific kernel. So that when you pull back and you do look at your corn and you see the gaps, that silk didn't get the fertilization to come down for that kernel. So between 12 and 17 leaves is when that whole thing says, and it determines what you're going to get for your output. And I don't have high hopes this year, because everybody I've heard, including Julie, said, my corn didn't do anything. Every website I've looked at, they've all said their first year was abysmally disappointing. But we'll see. The storm wasn't enough to knock me out. And I figured it couldn't have happened at a worse time, because that was precisely when we were at that 12 to 17 leaf phase where it was doing its analysis. But we'll see.
It'll probably compensate real well.
Look out next year. Right? Look out next year. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you.